Oh wow, we've nearly doubled the read speed just by making a RAID 0. What a great deal. So let's say you have some old hard drives laying around. They're not big enough to store anything. They're not fast enough to do anything. However, you can give them a new life by setting them up as a RAID 0. Not only can you combine the size into one single hard drive, but you can also potentially double the speed of what it used to be. Let's find out how. So in order to enable RAID settings on your computer, you have to get inside of BIOS. This is the first step you have to do to make sure to tell your computer, yes, I want to use the RAID settings on my computer. So in order to get into the BIOS, make sure your computer is restarted, and then make sure you press, in my case, delete button. Delete is the most typical one for the custom-made computers. So reboot your computer, and while it's booting up, make sure you press the delete button in order to get inside of BIOS. If you have an HP or a Dell computer, they also support RAID, but make sure you press the correct button in order to get into the BIOS. Just make sure you check that before you do that, so that way you can get inside of BIOS. Your BIOS may look a little bit different. That'll be the classic mode, but all in all, make sure you use tabs and arrow keys in order to navigate these settings. In my case, so if you're looking at the settings, if I move up and down on my arrow on my keyboard, it's going to move the settings. But if you do tab, it will also make sure you go to the next menu. All right, so we're going to go into the settings that we're selecting right here. I'm going to hit enter. And in this case, I'm just going to use up and down arrow and make sure I select advanced. It might be a little bit different for your computer, but make sure you kind of go into the general area where the RAID settings are. In my case, it's under the integrated peripherals. And why is it under integrated peripherals? Because everything that's plugged inside of your computer is integrated into the computer. This includes the hard drives, right? Of course, make sure you have 2 hard drives ready in order for us to enable this. So I'm going to go into the integrated peripherals. I'm going to hit enter, and I'm going to go down to SATA. You can see by default that it's set to AHCI mode. If you hit enter on that, you should have an option that says RAID mode. I'm going to select RAID mode. I'm going to hit enter. If you don't see a RAID mode, that means your computer does not, unfortunately, support RAID. However, most of the newer computers should support RAID, so this shouldn't be a big problem as of now. So with the RAID mode enabled, I'm just going to press F10 on my keyboard. This is a button that basically all of the BIOS use to save, exit, and save your BIOS. I'm going to press F10. It says save configuration and reset. I'm going to select yes. Just like when you boot into the BIOS, make sure you press the correct keys combination on your keyboard in order to get inside of the utility to set up your RAID. Of course, make sure you have enough disks set up so that way you can set them up. In my case, it's Control I, and in my case, I had to catch it real quick. There's a splash window, meaning it says real quick, press Control I in order to get inside of it. So kind of look for that, reboot your computer, and look for that window that says press this or that in order to get inside of this RAID setup utility. Anyways, I'm inside of it, and I had to press Control I in my case in order to get this. So let's set up our RAID. Here it is. This is the list of the drives that I have, and these are just experimental drives, the older drives that I had. And so the point of it is to basically reuse your old hard drives too, right? So that's a really good idea. Put a couple of those different hard drives inside and just make sure you set them up as RAID, double your capacity and double your speed potentially. All right, so the first one we have is Samsung SSD 840. This is a really old hard drive. It's like one of those early gens, and I'm going to use that either for the operating system or I'm going to use it for something else. It doesn't matter. But here are the drives I want to use. It's good to use identical hard drives if you have. They don't have to be identical, but keep in mind if, for example, one is 120 and the other one is 240, whenever you combine them together into RAID 0 in this case, it's going to go with a smaller size and it's going to be a smaller volume overall. However, it will give you faster speeds, right? Potentially it should double the speed, but that's not necessarily the case because there are a lot of factors that go into it. But it will definitely be faster because it's RAID 0, which means it's striping and it takes advantage of 2 hard drives in order to transfer and write data faster. So read and write is going to be a lot faster. All right, so let's go ahead and set up our RAID. I'm going to make sure that I'm selecting number 1, which is create RAID volume. I'm going to press enter and I'm going to name it RAID, right? I'm just going to name it RAID because it is a RAID volume, so I'm going to call it RAID, right? You can name it whatever you want. It doesn't matter. It's just a semantic. And I'm going to choose a RAID level, meaning type of RAID. There are different types of RAIDs. In this case, I'm going to use RAID 0 because that's the point of this video. But what that does, it gives you performance speed. It says here RAID 0, stripes data, performance, read. That means it's going to increase your read speeds and write speeds because it's using 2 different hard drives and splitting the workload on both of those. That's the whole point of it, and it gives you performance. It's not going to give you double the speed, but it's going to definitely increase the speed of your hard drives. And it's a good way to repurpose your old hard drives if you want to use it for, something else. It doesn't matter. Okay, so I'm going to leave it at RAID 0, but you can also see that there are other options like RAID 1, which is redundancy mirroring, meaning it's like a backup and stuff like that. And then you can make it parity, this and that. Anyways, we're going to leave it at RAID 0 because the point of this video is to increase the performance by utilizing our old hard drives. So I'm going to press enter this, and I'm going to select disk. Right now it's telling me, okay, select disk. Which disks do you want to use this? So you need at least 2 of them. So I'm going to press enter. And here is, again, the same screen that we've seen earlier, except it's in blue. So that's our first one, SSD 840. I'm not going to use that one. I'm just going to use these second 2 as I've mentioned before. So I'm going to make sure that the first one is highlighted. In my case, I'm going to press space in order to select it. You can see that the green arrow came up and it says that I've selected it. I'm going to do the same thing for number 4 there, for the ID number 4, and you can see that that is selected as well. So I'm going to use these first 2. I'm sorry, these 2 that are selected here, not the first one, but these 2 here, as I mentioned. All right, so I'm going to press enter to get it done because it tells me right there to press enter. So now I have them selected. Now, this is important to actually keep in mind. It says here, the following are the typical values for the RAIDs that are used, right? So what is this here? Strip size. That means it's the way how the data is processed. For that, I'm just going to stick with RAID 0 recommended, which is 128 KB per strip. So I'm just going to use up and down arrows on my keyboard. Make sure 128 KB is selected. Otherwise, if you choose something else, you may not be able to format your drives properly. So I'm going to press enter. Now you can change the capacity. You can see that it basically doubled off what I had. That means it combined the size of both of those hard drives into one, which is great. We're not losing any data. But if you want to change this and make this volume, sorry, English is my second language. Anyways, if you want to make this something else, for example, like 100, 150, 200, it doesn't matter. You can set it up and then later on create another volume that is whatever's left over after you change this to a smaller size. Obviously, you can't change it to higher size at this because this is the maximum size for both of those. But again, if you wanted to have 2 hard drives, right? If you wanted to show up as 2 different hard drives, you can do that as well. It will still be RAID, except it will show up as 2 different ones. Therefore, it will show up as a different volume. Anyways, I'm going to make it combined. So I'm going to leave it like that. I'm going to press enter, and I'm just going to simply select create volume. And here is just to confirm, I'm going to press Y on my keyboard to do so. And now you can see that this here shows up as members, right? Members disk of the RAID. So this one and that one are both members of a RAID volume. So I'm going to exit this, and I'm going to make sure I plug in my USB stick with Windows 10 operating system or Windows 11, whichever you prefer. And I'm going to make sure to install operating system onto this RAID. So let's make sure we do that as well. So I'm just going to simply exit, and I'm going to press 6 or escape in order to exit this. So it's just going to confirm. I'm going to press Y. All right, my USB with Windows 10 operating system image is plugged in, and now it should boot directly to it. There's that menu that I was telling you about Control I. So that's something you will get as well. Right now, my computer is attempting to boot from the USB drive with Windows 10 operating image on it, and we're going to install Windows 10, and I'll show you how that looks like as well, so that way you can do it properly for your computer, so that way we can take advantage of RAID 0's performance speed and repurpose our old hard drives, right? All right, here it comes. Wow, that was real quick. I didn't even cut. That was just a few seconds there. I'm going to select next. I'm going to select install now. It's really fast so far, right? It hasn't even been, what, a minute maybe since I've rebooted. I'm going to select Pro because I like to use Pro because that's what I have a license for. And let's see how fast this goes. I'm going to click accept. So far it's really, really snappy. So that's great. I'm going to select custom install. And here is our RAID drive. You can see 238.5 gigabytes. So that's what that is. I can select next, or I can create a new volume here. So I'm going to select new here. I'm just going to apply the size that's by default there. I'm going to click OK. And now it created our partitions. I'm going to make sure it's still selected at 238 there. So that's our RAID drive. I'm going to select next. And now it's going to start to copy over files. Wow, that was instantaneous. Did you see that? 100% just copied over Windows files. Wow. All right, so that's great. It's going to install it here. I'm going to, I don't know if I should leave this up so you can see how fast it installs. But in the end, this is how you do it, right? This is how you set up RAID on your computer. And again, most of the new computers should have this and available for you. Before, it used to be you have to set up a RAID by you buying a RAID card that supports this and that. Then you have to plug it in. Most of the new computers now support this. And this is a great time to actually repurpose your old hard drives and set up RAID to kind of give them a new life. So that way you can use your computer once more and keep using it, and it will give you higher performance. This is also great for people who don't necessarily have M.2 NVMe capability to boot on their computers. So this is an alternative that you can use, and it boosts your performance. SATA in this computer is a SATA 3, which is up to 600 megabytes per second. Now, with using two of them, that means you're using two SATA slots and making it a RAID 0, combining two of them, you should theoretically give us 1200 megabytes per second speeds. But again, even if it's a 50% boost, that would be also a great bonus. And as I've talked, you can see how fast it's installing the files on there already. So it's already 38%. And it's going to install Windows here within, I'd say, 5 minutes tops. It's going to have ready Windows 10 operating system, maybe even faster. I mean, it's almost at 50% and it just keeps going. So again, I hope you like this video. If you do, please leave me a comment. Just say hello, hi, present, or thank you. I really appreciate it. And if you don't mind clicking the like button, that's also appreciated as well. It really helps with my channel. Thank you so much. And I hope you have a wonderful day. Again, this is going so fast. I don't know. Should I just leave it? I'm going to leave it here, but I'm not going to talk to it. I'm just going to I don't know. I'm just going to leave it here real time. I'm not going to speed up nothing until it goes all the way through so you can see that how fast it installed. Anyways, I'm going to shut up. Take care. Bye-bye. Oh wow, it's almost done. Let me know. Wow, that was quick. Let me know if you watch this all the way to the end. I'm really curious. Okay, reboot. Wow, that was fast. I'm gonna pull my USB out. It should have everything on that drive now. I should be able to boot to it directly. All right. So in case you want to know, this is actually older i7, like 4770K. So this is an older computer. I don't know. Gosh, how old is it now? I don't even know. Years, many years old. But here comes our Windows installation. Fresh install of Windows 10. All right, starting services for the first time, getting device ready. So what is that? Was that like 5 minutes? Something like that. Sorry, I know I said I was going to be quiet after this, but I couldn't help myself. Let me let me know if you watched all the way through. This is how I know if people watched all the way through, if they heard me talk again. You know, I'll be honest, I was thinking about a video to make and I couldn't think of a topic. So I was like thinking to myself, okay, let me just make this video here real quick because it's something that I've never made and I can do it fairly easily. And I'll think of a different topic next time. Because, you know, everything else takes a lot of preparation, which is fine. All right, it's getting ready. Let's see how fast this thing is. All right. I think it's around 5 minutes. 5 minutes to install operating system, which is pretty good. Not bad. Not bad at all. Now it should come up for that first time setup of Windows 10, which is just semantic. At that point, I call it done. You know, there it is. Just a moment. There we go. Windows 10 installed. And here, this is just semantics. You just click through real quick in case you want to know, I guess. Let's do it real quick. I'm just going to select yes, that's my location. If you're somewhere else, select your location, country. I always skip this part here. I don't, you know, it's just the keyboard layout if you have a different keyboard. Here, you know, I'm just going to say I don't have internet. I'm going to select later on to connect to it. I'm going to say this here just to get it going, continue. And name I want to use, I'm going to use Kobuman. Here's my password. Yeah, I knew it was going to ask me this type of stuff. That's that, huh? I always turn this stuff off. This is like, I don't want any tracking, I don't want any personal information be shared with Microsoft. And see, it keeps wanting to install this stuff. I don't know if anybody uses Cortana. But yeah, that's that. Now all it's doing is just creating a local profile based on that login ID that I put in, Kobuman. But that's normal. Every time you log in for the first time into a computer, we'll do this. But you know, let's say it says here this may take several minutes. Let's see how long this will take actually. So if it's a fast computer, it shouldn't be more than 30 seconds. But we have a RAID on a couple of older SATA or SSD, I should say, drives. Come on, you can do it. Yep, there it is. What is that, like 30 seconds? Well, let's say it's 1 minute to create a local profile the first time you log in. So that's really fast in my opinion. Oh wow, we've nearly doubled the read speed just by making a RAID 0. What a great deal to just repurpose these old drives. So remember I said it was 600 per second for SATA 3 speeds, and here it is. This is nearly double. So this is 1900 no, I'm sorry, 1096 per second. Sorry, I got really excited. But this is a great result. I mean, we took some of the old hard drives that were probably not even large enough for us to use to begin with, but we combined them into a RAID, not only made it useful, but also nearly doubled the read speeds. Now, it's worth noting about the write speeds. I don't know exactly what the write speeds are supposed to be. This is going to vary. But to me, clearly, it didn't necessarily double the write speeds on this because it still says here 283 per second. Now, keep in mind that this is going to be great for loading stuff. So let's say you're into gaming or something that needs a lot of read speed in order to load something into a program or whatnot. This is going to be a huge benefit because it's going to read and reduce the amount of time you wait for the loading. So yeah, I mean, in my opinion, if you're doing gaming, I guess that's the only thing I can think of. This would be great for that. All right.